Have you ever wondered how a few simple words can change everything? There comes a moment in every conversation when you pause and wonder if the words you choose might be sending a message you never intended. Today, we are going to explore a subject that many of us do not even realize we are grappling with, a topic that touches on the very heart of our self-expression and the way we connect with others. In our everyday exchanges, it is easy to fall into habits that, although meant to bridge gaps, can instead create distances between us and the people we care about. This discussion is not about putting on airs or pretending to be someone you're not. It is about uncovering the subtle ways our language can work against us when we are not fully aware of the power it holds. I recall a time when I was engaged in a conversation with someone I deeply cared about. The dialogue was warm, the intentions genuine, yet something went wrong. I later discovered that a single phrase, uttered in a moment of vulnerability, had changed the tone of our exchange. It left the other person feeling uncertain and eventually disinterested. That experience sparked a journey of introspection and learning, leading me to understand that some expressions can convey insecurity and neediness in ways we might not consciously intend. Our words are not merely sounds, they are carriers of our inner state. When we project doubt or dependency, we inadvertently send a signal that we are not entirely secure in ourselves. In today's talk, we are going to look at how certain common phrases have the potential to erode the natural connection we seek to build. We will explore why these words carry such a weighty impact and how they can undermine the confident image you want to project. More importantly, we will examine ways to reframe your language so that every word you speak reinforces your inner strength rather than betraying your insecurities. Throughout this conversation, I will share some personal experiences, moments when I caught myself falling into the trap of needing constant reassurance, and the lessons I learned from them. I will also offer practical advice on how to recognize these patterns and replace them with expressions that mirror your true value. The idea is simple. If you can transform the way you speak, you can transform the way you are perceived. Confidence is not an inherent trait that you either have or do not have. It is a quality that can be nurtured, built, and refined through careful attention to the details of your everyday interactions. It is not uncommon to find that our speech habits develop over time, shaped by years of personal experiences and the influence of those around us. However, when these habits start to communicate a need for validation rather than self-assurance, they can become a barrier to forming genuine connections. By becoming aware of these tendencies, you empower yourself to make a conscious change. Today's conversation is a call to step back and observe the language you use, to think about the energy behind your words, and to choose expressions that reflect the person you truly want to be. As we move through each part of this talk, you will discover practical strategies that help you maintain a steady, confident tone, even in moments of uncertainty. You will learn how to recognize those small phrases that might, without your intention, diminish your appeal, and how to replace them with language that is both assertive and sincere. The transition from self-doubt to self-assurance begins with a single choice, a decision to trust in your own value and to let that trust shine through every conversation. Before we continue, take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. Think about a time when you felt that your words might have betrayed your inner strength. Perhaps you apologized too quickly, or you added unnecessary qualifiers when expressing your thoughts. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward change. By the end of our discussion today, I hope you will feel better equipped to navigate your interactions with a newfound sense of clarity and confidence. Let us now move on to the next part of our conversation, where we look at the specific words and phrases that can have a surprising impact on the way you are perceived. The dangerous phrase. When we speak, the words we choose have an impact far beyond their surface meaning. There are certain phrases that, while seemingly innocent, carry an underlying message of dependency and self-doubt. One such phrase is one that many might use in an attempt to forge a deeper connection, yet it ends up undermining the very bond one wishes to create. It is not uncommon for someone to say something like, "I can't do this without you," or "I really need you to understand me." On the surface, these words might sound caring and sincere. However, beneath that veneer, they reveal a hidden insecurity, a signal that you are not entirely self-reliant. In examining these expressions, it becomes clear that they can disrupt the balance in any conversation. When you express a need for someone else's validation, you are effectively handing over control of your self-worth. The other person then becomes the arbiter of your value, and that is a dangerous place to be. The danger lies in the fact that when you rely too heavily on external approval, you diminish your own internal power. The moment you say something that hints at needing someone to complete you, you start to shift the dynamic of the interaction away from mutual respect and towards an imbalanced relationship. I have witnessed and experienced firsthand how these seemingly minor phrases can create ripples in a conversation. There was a time when I, too, found myself using language that inadvertently communicated uncertainty. I would add phrases that, in retrospect, seemed to ask for reassurance. Over time, I noticed that this habit affected the way people responded to me. Rather than engaging with the strength of my ideas, they would sometimes focus on the hesitations in my tone. It was as if every word was weighed against an unspoken standard of perfection that I was trying to achieve. In trying to be relatable, I had unknowingly sown the seeds of doubt, both in my own mind and in the minds of others. This realization was a turning point. I began to understand that the key to meaningful communication is not just in the ideas you share, but in the confidence with which you share them. When you speak from a place of assuredness, your words carry a certain weight that commands respect. On the other hand, when you pepper your speech with phrases that seek validation, you signal that your worth is contingent on someone else's approval. And once that dynamic is set in motion, it can be incredibly difficult to break free. Consider the subtle energy behind each word. When you use expressions that hint at neediness, they create a subtle but powerful shift in the conversation. The listener may begin to perceive you not as a confident individual, but as someone who is searching for external support to validate your feelings. This is particularly true in the early stages of any relationship, where first impressions are critical. A few offhand remarks can plant the seeds of doubt that later grow into barriers to deeper connection. Moreover, it is not just about the words themselves, but about the overall tone they set. When you allow phrases that convey dependency into your vocabulary, you are inadvertently inviting a dynamic that can lead to misunderstandings and misinterpretations. The person on the receiving end might feel burdened by the responsibility of constantly providing reassurance, and over time, that can lead to a natural distancing. The strength of a relationship lies in the balance of mutual respect and independence. When that balance is disrupted, the connection suffers. Let us now consider how one can transition from relying on such dangerous phrases to embracing language that reinforces personal strength. It starts with awareness, recognizing that the phrases you use can have unintended consequences. Once you are aware, you can begin to experiment with alternative ways of expressing the same sentiments, but in a manner that underscores your independence. Instead of saying, "I can't do this without you," consider framing your thoughts in a way that emphasizes your own abilities while still acknowledging the value of the other person's support. For example, you might say, "I appreciate your insight. It really complements my approach." This small shift in language not only asserts your own competence, but also values the contribution of the other person without implying dependency. Another strategy is to pay attention to your internal dialogue. Often, the language you use with others mirrors the way you speak to yourself. If you are constantly doubting your abilities, that doubt is likely to seep into your external communication. By working on building a stronger internal narrative, one that is rooted in self-respect and self-reliance, you will naturally find that your speech becomes more confident and measured. It is a process that requires consistent reflection and adjustment, but the rewards are well worth the effort. As you become more aware of these patterns, you may also find that your relationships start to change. People are naturally drawn to those who exude confidence and self-assurance. When you speak with clarity and conviction, you set a tone that encourages mutual respect. The conversation becomes less about seeking approval and more about exchanging ideas on an equal footing. In this balanced environment, every word you speak reinforces the perception that you are someone who stands strong in your own right. Transitioning away from dangerous phrases is not an overnight transformation. It is a gradual process of self-improvement and reflection. Every time you catch yourself falling back on those familiar words, consider it an opportunity to try something different. Reflect on why you felt the need to use that particular phrase and how you might rephrase it to better reflect your true self. Over time, these small adjustments accumulate, leading to a significant shift in the way you communicate and, ultimately, in the way you are perceived. In the end, the goal is not to change who you are, but to express the confident, capable person you have always been. By choosing your words with care and intention, you can create conversations that build lasting connections rather than inadvertently pushing people away. Let us now turn our attention to the reasons behind these linguistic habits, exploring the inner workings of our minds and the psychological forces at play when we seek validation through our words. The psychology behind it. At the heart of every meaningful interaction is the energy that flows from our inner beliefs. Confidence has a magnetic quality, a quality that draws people in and creates an environment of trust and respect. When you speak with certainty, you are not only sharing your ideas, but also conveying a deep-seated assurance that you are comfortable in your own skin. This inner assurance is something that many people naturally gravitate toward, as it suggests stability and reliability. The psychological roots of our language habits are complex, often formed over years of personal experiences and interactions with others. From a young age, we learn to mirror the expressions and tones of those around us. If we grow up in environments where uncertainty is common, we may unconsciously adopt language that reflects that insecurity. Over time, these habits become second nature, and we begin to express ourselves in ways that might not truly represent our inner strength. One of the key factors in this dynamic is the need for validation. It is a universal human desire to be seen, heard, and appreciated. However, when the quest for validation becomes the driving force behind our communication, it can lead to a pattern of self-doubt. Every word then carries the weight of an unspoken question: am I good enough? This underlying uncertainty can cause us to pepper our speech with qualifiers, apologies, and expressions of dependence that ultimately undermine our message. I have spent considerable time reflecting on how this need for external approval shapes the way we speak. In moments of stress or uncertainty, it is natural to seek reassurance from those around us. Yet paradoxically, the more we seek this reassurance, the more we reveal a vulnerability that can detract from the strength of our message. Our inner dialogue, those thoughts we often keep to ourselves, plays a significant role in determining how we express ourselves outwardly. If we are constantly questioning our own worth, it becomes difficult to project confidence, no matter how much we might wish to do so. Consider a situation where you are sharing an idea in a group setting. If you preface your thought with an apology or a qualifier, you are subtly indicating that your contribution might not be valuable. This self-deprecating habit, even if unintentional, signals to others that you are unsure of your own ideas. Conversely, when you speak with a calm, steady tone, without unnecessary hedges, you invite others to take your words seriously. It creates an atmosphere where ideas are exchanged on an equal basis, without one person's self-doubt overshadowing the conversation. A powerful way to shift this dynamic is by changing the narrative in your own mind. It begins with the recognition that your worth is not determined by the fleeting opinions of others. Instead, it is anchored in the inherent qualities that make you unique and capable. By fostering an inner dialogue that reinforces your self-respect, you lay the groundwork for a communication style that is both assertive and genuine. In my own experience, making this mental shift was transformative. I started to challenge the negative thoughts that had long dictated the way I spoke. Every time I felt the familiar pang of self-doubt, I paused and reminded myself that my ideas had value. Over time, this practice gradually altered the way I approach conversations. I found that by replacing self-critical thoughts with affirmations of my own abilities, my speech naturally grew more confident and impactful. It is important to note that this transformation does not require a complete overhaul of your personality. Rather, it is about fine-tuning the way you express your true self. There is no need to become someone you are not. The goal is simply to ensure that the language you use aligns with the inner strength you possess. By focusing on what you can control, namely your thoughts and the way you articulate them, you create a space where confidence can flourish. The energy behind your words is not just a matter of tone. It is a reflection of your inner state. When you communicate from a place of security and self-assurance, you open the door to more meaningful and respectful interactions. The transformation begins with a single choice: to trust in your own worth and let that trust manifest in every conversation. As this new way of speaking becomes a habit, you will notice that the responses you receive from others change as well. People are naturally drawn to those who radiate confidence, and this positive energy creates a ripple effect in every aspect of your life. As we continue this exploration, it becomes clear that understanding the psychology behind our language is a key step in transforming our interactions. Recognizing that every phrase carries an underlying emotional weight allows you to choose your words more carefully. In the next part of our conversation, we will turn our attention to the subtle signs that might indicate when you are unknowingly falling into old habits. By identifying these patterns, you will be better equipped to make conscious changes that lead to stronger, more authentic communication. Signs: you might be saying this without realizing. Over time, our speech patterns become a reflection of our habitual ways of thinking. It is easy to slip into patterns that express uncertainty without even noticing. In everyday interactions, there are often subtle cues that suggest you may be using language that undermines your own confidence. One of the most common signs is the tendency to add unnecessary qualifiers to your statements. Perhaps you often find yourself saying things like, "I'm not sure if this makes sense, but," or "I hope I'm explaining this clearly." While these phrases might seem polite, they also hint at an underlying insecurity that can affect how your ideas are received. Another indicator is the habit of over-texting or following up repeatedly on a conversation. When you feel compelled to send multiple messages to confirm that your thoughts were understood or that the conversation is still valued, it may be a sign that you are seeking reassurance. This need for constant validation can become a barrier to forming a balanced relationship, as it places undue pressure on the other person to continually affirm your worth. In reflecting on my own experiences, I have noticed that these subtle signs often occur during moments of self-doubt. There were times when I would apologize excessively for sharing my opinions, as if I were trying to soften the impact of my ideas. While the intention behind such remarks might be to show consideration for the listener, the effect can be quite the opposite. Rather than conveying thoughtful empathy, these phrases can inadvertently signal that you lack confidence in what you have to say. It is not uncommon to encounter situations where you find yourself checking your phone repeatedly after sending a message, anxious to see a response. This behavior, although it may seem minor, is a clear sign of a reliance on external validation. Every moment spent worrying about the response is a moment when your internal dialogue is dominated by self-doubt. Over time, these habits can become ingrained, and it takes conscious effort to break free from them. One effective way to address these patterns is through self-reflection. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to review your interactions. Ask yourself whether there were moments when you added extra apologies or qualifiers to your speech. Reflect on how those moments made you feel and how the other person responded. This exercise in self-awareness can be a powerful tool in identifying the subtle ways in which your language might be sending mixed signals. In addition to self-reflection, consider adopting small behavioral changes that help you maintain a more balanced tone. For instance, if you catch yourself about to send a follow-up text for reassurance, try waiting a little longer before doing so. Give the conversation room to breathe and trust that your words were enough. Similarly, if you notice that you often begin your statements with apologies, make a conscious effort to simply state your thoughts without that preamble. Over time, these small adjustments can build into a more confident and steady style of communication. Another key sign to look out for is the feeling of exhaustion after a conversation. If you often leave interactions feeling drained or anxious, it may be a sign that your communication style is overly focused on seeking approval. Instead of leaving you energized and inspired, such conversations can leave you feeling as though you have expended a great deal of emotional energy just to be heard. This is a clear indicator that the dynamic of the exchange is unbalanced and that a change in approach might be beneficial. A helpful strategy is to monitor your internal reactions in real time. When you feel the impulse to add an extra qualifier or apology, pause for a moment and take a deep breath. Use that pause as an opportunity to remind yourself that your thoughts are valid. By consciously choosing not to fill every silence with reassurance-seeking words, you gradually build a habit of speaking with calm assurance. Ultimately, recognizing these signs is about taking control of your narrative. Every time you become aware of a pattern that does not serve your true self, you have the chance to make a small change that reinforces your confidence. It is a journey of self-improvement that requires patience and persistence, but each step forward contributes to a more authentic way of communicating. As we move on from these observations, the next part of our conversation will focus on how some individuals naturally project an air of self-assurance in their speech. We will explore the characteristics of communication that exude strength and clarity, setting the stage for a discussion on how you can cultivate these traits in your own interactions. How high-value men communicate differently. When observing those who seem to effortlessly command respect and attention, one quickly notices that their manner of speaking is markedly different. Their words are clear and deliberate, reflecting an inner confidence that requires no constant reassurance. There is a noticeable quality in their speech that suggests they trust in their own opinions and are unafraid to express them. In contrast, individuals who pepper their dialogue with qualifiers and apologetic phrases often come across as uncertain, even if that is not their intention. High-value communicators maintain a balanced tone that reflects both strength and openness. They speak in a measured manner, choosing words that are direct and meaningful. Rather than over-explaining or hedging their statements, they allow their ideas to stand on their own merit. This clarity in communication is a powerful tool that not only makes their message more compelling, but also creates an environment in which others feel respected and heard. One of the fundamental principles behind this approach is the focus on what can be controlled, namely one's own thoughts and expressions. Those who consistently speak with confidence understand that their true power lies in their ability to express themselves clearly without seeking constant affirmation from others. By centering their communication on their own inner strength, they naturally foster an atmosphere of mutual respect and genuine dialogue. In my own experience, I have observed that when I speak without the need for excessive reassurance, the quality of the conversation improves dramatically. When you eliminate the habitual need to preface your thoughts with self-doubt, your message becomes more impactful. The listener is not distracted by the underlying uncertainty. Instead, they are invited to engage with your ideas on a deeper level. This dynamic creates a balanced exchange where both parties feel valued and understood. To cultivate this style of communication, it is essential to develop a few key habits. One such habit is the deliberate use of pauses. Instead of rushing to fill every gap in conversation with unnecessary words, allow for moments of silence. These pauses give you the space to collect your thoughts and deliver them with clarity and conviction. It is a subtle art, one that transforms a simple conversation into an exchange of ideas that feels both thoughtful and deliberate. Another important aspect is to focus on what you can say rather than worrying about how it might be received. When you concentrate on the content of your ideas rather than on the potential judgment of others, you speak with a natural assurance. It is a shift in perspective, one that requires trust in your own abilities and a recognition that your worth is inherent. Over time, this mindset will reflect in your language, leading to a more confident and engaging style of communication. In addition to these habits, consider practicing speaking in front of a mirror or recording your conversations. This exercise is not about self-criticism. Rather, it is an opportunity to observe the nuances of your expression. Notice how your tone changes when you speak with confidence versus when you are unsure. These observations can be invaluable in helping you refine your approach. With consistent practice, the differences will become evident not only to you, but to everyone you interact with. It is also useful to gather feedback from those you trust. Sometimes, an external perspective can highlight areas where your communication may be inadvertently undermining your message. Constructive feedback can serve as a guide, showing you where small adjustments might make a big difference in how your ideas are received. Ultimately, the goal is to create a style of communication that is both authentic and commanding. By focusing on your own inner strength and expressing your thoughts clearly, you not only enhance the quality of your interactions, but also build a reputation for being someone who stands firm in their convictions. This reputation over time will open doors, both personally and professionally, and will foster deeper, more meaningful connections. As we conclude this section on high-value communication, it is important to remember that the journey toward confident expression is ongoing. Every conversation is an opportunity to practice and refine your style. With each interaction, you become more attuned to the power of your words, gradually shifting from uncertainty to a natural, self-assured way of speaking. In the next part of our discussion, we will explore a specific language that naturally attracts genuine interest and respect, further enhancing the way you connect with others. Words that attract women instead. Imagine transforming your everyday language into a tool that not only expresses your thoughts, but also naturally draws others to you. The language you choose has the power to either repel or attract, and this is especially true in the realm of personal relationships. When you speak in a way that exudes confidence and independence, you create an inviting atmosphere, one where genuine connection can flourish. Instead of relying on phrases that suggest a need for approval, you can adopt expressions that affirm your strength and authenticity. One of the most effective strategies is to reframe your language in a way that highlights your self-reliance. For example, rather than saying, "I really need you to help me," consider saying, "I appreciate your perspective, and I am confident in my own approach. This subtle change does more than merely alter the wording. It shifts the entire energy of the conversation. The listener is not asked to validate your existence, but is instead invited to share in an exchange where both parties contribute equally. Another important element is the tone with which you speak. A steady, calm voice can be incredibly appealing. It reflects an inner certainty that speaks louder than any overly apologetic or hesitant remark. When you choose your words carefully, you not only communicate your thoughts more clearly, but also project an image of someone who is secure and self-assured. This naturally attracts those who value strength and clarity in their interactions. It is also beneficial to consider the context in which you speak. In personal relationships, genuine connection is built on mutual respect and understanding. When you express yourself in a way that is free from the need to seek constant reassurance, you allow your true personality to shine through. This openness creates an environment where meaningful dialogue can take place, and where both parties feel comfortable sharing their thoughts without fear of judgment. Reflecting on my own journey, I have learned that the language of confidence is cultivated over time through mindful practice. Every time I caught myself using a phrase that hinted at dependency, I made a conscious effort to rephrase it in a manner that affirmed my independence. These small adjustments gradually built into a more robust communication style, one that was met with greater respect and genuine interest from those around me. The transformation was not instantaneous, but it was profound, altering the way people interacted with me and deepening the quality of my relationships. It is important to note that adopting a new language style does not mean that you have to suppress your emotions or hide your vulnerability. Authenticity is not about being emotionless. Rather, it is about expressing your true self without the constant need for external validation. You can still share your feelings, but do so in a way that is rooted in self-respect and clarity. When you speak from a place of inner strength, even your expressions of vulnerability carry the assurance that you are in control of your own worth. A useful approach to refining your language is to practice active listening. When you truly engage in the conversation and listen to the other person, it becomes easier to respond in a way that is thoughtful and self-assured. This mutual exchange fosters a balanced dialogue where the emphasis is on understanding rather than on seeking validation. By cultivating a habit of attentive listening, you not only improve your own communication, but also create a more positive environment for others to share their ideas. In addition, it can be helpful to develop a personal mantra or affirmation that reminds you of your own value. A simple phrase such as, "I am confident in my abilities," repeated throughout the day, can reinforce your inner strength. This practice serves as a constant reminder that your worth is inherent and that your contributions to any conversation are valuable in their own right. As we progress through our discussion, it becomes clear that the language of attraction is not about altering who you are. It is about highlighting the best parts of your true self. By choosing words that reflect your inner strength and by speaking with a calm, measured tone, you create an environment where genuine connection can thrive. Your language becomes a reflection of your character, inviting others to see you as someone who is not only capable, but also deeply interesting and engaging. Now let us shift our focus to an ancient philosophy that has long offered guidance on overcoming the need for constant validation. This wisdom can serve as a powerful foundation for the changes we have been discussing, reinforcing your journey toward a more confident and authentic way of communicating. How Stoicism helps you stop seeking validation. There is a timeless philosophy that has guided countless individuals through the challenges of self-doubt and uncertainty, Stoicism. This school of thought teaches that true strength comes not from external approval, but from an unwavering trust in one's own inner resources. Stoicism reminds us that our happiness and self-worth are determined by our own thoughts and actions, not by the fleeting opinions of others. Embracing this philosophy can have a transformative effect on the way you communicate, as it helps shift the focus from seeking validation to cultivating inner resilience. At its core, Stoicism encourages us to concentrate on what we can control and to let go of what lies beyond our reach. When you apply this principle to your daily interactions, you begin to see that the opinions of others, though important, do not define your value. This understanding is liberating. It allows you to speak with clarity and conviction, free from the constant need to prove yourself. Instead of framing your words in a way that begs for approval, you can express yourself with the calm assurance that comes from within. I have found that incorporating Stoic practices into my routine has been immensely beneficial. For example, taking a few moments each day to reflect on my own thoughts and feelings has helped me build a stronger internal dialogue. By journaling about my experiences and reminding myself that my worth is not contingent on external feedback, I have been able to quiet the inner critic that once dictated my every word. Over time, these practices have led to a noticeable shift in my communication style, a move from seeking constant validation to confidently expressing my true self. One of the central tenets of Stoicism is the idea that it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. This simple yet profound insight can change the way you view your interactions with others. When you begin to see that the only opinions that truly matter are your own, you free yourself from the burden of trying to please everyone around you. In turn, this freedom allows you to speak more freely, without the fear of judgment or rejection. Applying Stoic principles to your communication is not about suppressing your emotions. Rather, it is about managing them in a way that is constructive. It is natural to feel vulnerable at times, but the goal is to prevent that vulnerability from dictating your words. Instead of allowing moments of self-doubt to shape your speech, you can choose to respond with measured thoughtfulness. This approach not only reinforces your inner strength, but also sets a positive example for those around you. Over the years, I have witnessed firsthand the transformative power of adopting a Stoic mindset. There were moments when I felt overwhelmed by the desire for external validation, moments when every interaction seemed to be a test of my worth. However, by consistently reminding myself that my value comes from within, I was able to break free from the cycle of constant self-criticism. With each conversation, I grew more comfortable with the idea that my opinions were valid simply because they were my own. This shift in perspective has had a profound impact on the way I communicate, allowing me to engage in discussions with a sense of calm assurance. For those on a similar journey, I encourage you to explore Stoic practices that resonate with you. Whether it is through meditation, reflection, or the simple act of taking a few deep breaths before speaking, every small step contributes to a more resilient mindset. As your inner dialogue becomes more supportive, you will notice a corresponding change in your external communication. The transformation is gradual, but with persistence, you will find that your words carry the weight of genuine confidence, untainted by the need for validation. As we move forward, consider how the teachings of Stoicism can serve as a foundation for the next stage of our conversation. We will explore practical exercises designed to rewire your mind and help you speak with true power and clarity. This next section will offer actionable strategies that build on the principles we have discussed, guiding you toward a more confident, authentic style of communication. How to rewire your mind to communicate with power. Imagine being able to express every thought and idea with the kind of clarity and strength that leaves a lasting impression on those around you. Changing the way you communicate is not an overnight miracle, but rather a gradual process of small, intentional steps. By consciously choosing to modify your habitual language patterns, you can rewire your mind to reflect the inner power that lies within you. One effective method is to develop the habit of pausing before you speak. That brief moment of silence can be incredibly powerful. It gives you the time to collect your thoughts and choose words that accurately reflect your true self. Rather than rushing to fill every gap with reassurance-seeking phrases, allow yourself the space to think. This deliberate pause transforms your communication from a series of automatic responses into a thoughtful exchange of ideas. Another strategy involves practicing in environments where you feel safe and comfortable. Whether you choose to speak in front of a mirror or engage in small, everyday conversations with friends and family, the goal is to build up your confidence gradually. In these safe spaces, experiment with different ways of phrasing your thoughts. Notice how a slight change in wording can alter the tone of the conversation, and in turn, how you feel about what you have said. Visualization is also a valuable tool. Before entering a situation that might otherwise trigger self-doubt, take a few moments to picture yourself speaking clearly and confidently. Imagine how your words will be received and the positive energy that will flow from the conversation. This mental rehearsal not only prepares your mind for the actual interaction, but also reinforces the belief that you are capable and articulate. Developing a series of personal affirmations can further strengthen your resolve. Statements such as, "I speak with clarity and confidence," or "My words are powerful and true," when repeated regularly, serve as a constant reminder of your inherent value. Over time, these affirmations become a part of your internal dialogue, gradually transforming the way you communicate without even conscious effort. It is important to remember that rewiring your mind is a gradual process. There will be moments when old habits resurface, when the familiar need for validation creeps in, despite your best efforts. When this happens, be gentle with yourself. Recognize these moments as opportunities for growth rather than failures. Each instance of self-awareness and correction builds the foundation for lasting change. A practical exercise that I have found especially beneficial is to record a brief summary of your day, focusing on the moments when you communicated effectively. Listen to how you spoke and reflect on what worked well and what might be improved. Over time, you will begin to notice patterns, small shifts in your tone, choice of words, and overall demeanor that signify a growing confidence. These reflections not only highlight your progress, but also offer insights into the areas where you might still be seeking external validation. Engaging in mindful breathing exercises is another simple yet effective technique. When you feel the pressure of a conversation mounting, take a few deep, slow breaths. Concentrate on the sensation of the air filling your lungs and slowly exhale. This practice calms your nervous system and brings you back to the present moment, allowing you to choose your words with clarity and purpose. As you work on these exercises, remind yourself that every effort, no matter how small, contributes to a larger transformation. The journey to rewire your mind is ongoing, but with each conscious choice, you are building a more powerful, authentic way of communicating. Over time, the changes become second nature, and the language of confidence flows effortlessly from within. Throughout this process, it is important to celebrate your successes. Each moment when you speak with clarity and strength is a step in the right direction. By focusing on the progress you have made, rather than the occasional setbacks, you reinforce the belief that you are on a path to becoming a more confident communicator. Your inner power is not something that is lost. It is waiting to be expressed fully through the words you choose each day. As we come to the final part of our conversation, I want you to hold on to the knowledge that every word you speak is an opportunity to showcase the incredible person you are. With these practical strategies and exercises at your disposal, you are well equipped to transform your everyday interactions into expressions of genuine power and authenticity. Our conversation today has been a journey through the subtle yet significant ways in which our words can shape our relationships and our self-perception. We began by exploring the idea that even the smallest phrases can carry a heavy weight, potentially pushing others away when we least expect it. We examined how certain expressions, though often well-intentioned, may reveal an inner vulnerability that undermines the confident image we strive to project. Throughout this discussion, we have uncovered the underlying psychology behind our language habits, how the need for validation can creep into our everyday speech, and how that, in turn, affects the way we are perceived. We looked at the signs that might indicate you are unknowingly using language that does not serve your true self, and discussed practical ways to shift from those patterns toward a more balanced, self-assured style of communication. I hope you have found value in learning how high-value communicators articulate their thoughts with clarity and purpose. We talked about the transformative power of choosing words that attract genuine interest and respect, rather than those that inadvertently signal insecurity. The journey to becoming a more confident communicator is not about changing who you are, but rather about allowing your inner strength to shine through in every interaction. I am truly thankful that you spent this time with me, exploring these ideas and reflecting on your own communication style. If you have enjoyed our conversation and found it helpful, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Your support means a great deal, and it encourages more discussions like this, conversations that help us all grow into the best versions of ourselves. Before we end, I would like to leave you with a question. What is one situation where you felt you needed extra confidence, and how did you overcome it? Your story might be just the inspiration someone else needs on their own journey. Please share your experiences in the comments below. Every word you share not only helps you reflect on your progress, but also creates a community of support and understanding. Remember, every time you speak, you have the power to show the world the confident, capable person you truly are. By choosing your words with care and intention, you transform everyday interactions into opportunities for connection and mutual respect. Carry this message with you as you go about your day, and let it remind you that true strength comes from within, reflected in every conversation, every word, and every gesture of authenticity. Thank you once again for joining me in this conversation. I hope you leave here feeling empowered and ready to embrace every moment with a renewed sense of self-assurance. Until next time, keep speaking your truth with kindness, clarity, and the quiet inner strength that is uniquely yours.